What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training. And today we're going to be breaking down Trevor Lawrence's and Justin Fields' throwing mechanics kind of side by side, okay? Not necessarily side by side, but clip to clip. So we're going to be talking about some of the consistencies they have and some of the differences that they have in their motions that affect their throwing mechanics, okay? But also, fellas, if you're a quarterback and you want to send me your throwing mechanics for a breakdown, just like I do on this page, check out that very first link in the description where you can become a member on my website, have the opportunity to submit film to me, and get access to over 12 hours of content on how to read defenses. Check out that very first link in the description if you want me to break down your throwing mechanics just like how I do on this channel. Hope we get you guys on that soon. Again, very first link in the description. Let's get started. So first things first, let's watch both of these clips full speed, then we'll break it down. So Lawrence has a little bit of a lean out of his throw, a little bit, not a lot. We're going to be discussing why he does that. And Fields has a very good motion, very clean release, and he's able to get this thing to come over the top nice and easy for him. So now, when Lawrence goes to throw, the one main consistency that everybody has, both of these guys have, is that when their front foot gets down, their front shoulder is closed. And what do I mean by that is that they're not spreading their chest. They're not lifting the ball. They're not going to 90 and then their front arms at 90, and they're not opening up their front shoulder as their front foot gets down, because the whole part of throwing with velocity, getting more pop on the ball, is all about torque. So if you get that front foot down and have that front shoulder closed, your hip drive, this external rotation, is what gets velocity on the ball for you, right? So they're nice and closed. They have this nice, good backstroke. Lawrence gets to a pretty good L right here. It does not have to be a perfect L for all the younger quarterbacks out there. It does not have to be straight perfect going back, just some kind of backstroke, right? Now, the issue here, it starts with Lawrence's lower half, right? So when Lawrence goes to throw, I want you to see how, like, kind of his front leg, you see how the weight is still kind of shifted? That weight never really transfers to the outside part of his leg like we're going to see with Fields. So just bear with me on this when we go to Fields' throwing mechanics, because you see how much more weight he's able to transfer from his lower half. Because now, when you see how he doesn't transfer as much weight and that weight's still kind of locked on that front foot, his front foot's very heavy, that front hip kind of locks out. His front hip doesn't allow him to rotate through, so what does he end up doing? He leans out of there with his front shoulder. Not a lot, not a big lean. He's still got a lot of velocity on this throw, and his hips are still driving through. His hips are still coming through before that shoulder, but he could get a little bit more hip rotation if he tries to transfer that weight to the front leg a little bit more. You see this a lot when he's, escaping out of the pocket and he'll strike the ground with the front foot. His back leg will swing way out of the grass, and that's because he's simply just not transferring enough weight to that front foot to get him to be able to have that nice, clean external rotation with his front hip, right? But obviously, it's working for him because he's going to be the first pick in the draft this year, and he still does drive through with his hips. I'm not saying that he doesn't do that, but that's where that kind of lean comes from, and that's why that release gets pushed out of here, because you see that he kind of dips that shoulder, dips that elbow, and they're all swinging out because we're rotational athletes as quarterbacks, so we got to be able to rotate somehow. So how we're able to rotate is either from my hips or from my shoulders, and he kind of goes maybe like 85% with his hips, and then like 15% by dipping that front shoulder to get that arm through. So that's the reason why behind that. You see how that leg kind of swings out of the ground here, and he kind of ends up with that elbow down by his waist. That's why, okay? I'm not saying that does, because honestly, it clearly works for him, right? Clearly works for him. Not saying that this is something that every quarterback has to do, but that's just the one reason why he has that dip out of there, because that lean out of there with your upper half can cause some inconsistencies because your body's split down a midline, right? When you go to throw, your body's here. When you dip your front side out of there, your arm flies out, right? And you see that's kind of what it does. You see how his arm is has this disconnect. Now we take a look at Fields' throwing mechanics, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here. So when he drops back to go throw, I want you to see how, again, that front foot gets down. Where's he at? He's nice and close. Same thing. He's got that good L backstroke, right? And again, I point these things out so younger quarterbacks can see, oh, they both do that. I should probably try to incorporate that into my game. So now, front shoulder's closed. Now I want you to see how much weight he's able to get to that front foot. You see how that weight is on his front leg? I know you can't really see his feet. That weight doesn't look like it's shifted backwards. That weight looks like it's getting to that outside part of his leg. So look at how well his front hip opens up. He doesn't have that coil where his body kind of leans out of there with his upper half, right? That front hip is able to rotate through, and he's able to get his hips parallel to the throw, and he stays in this nice square position. Now you see how much cleaner of a release point that is than Trevor Lawrence, right? And I wouldn't necessarily say cleaner. It's just he doesn't have that lean out of there where his release is flawed, because if he were to pull out and he were to swing that elbow down here, his release would fly way outside of his frame. But because he has such great weight transfer, you can see the weight on the outside part of his leg that front hip is able to rotate through, and that's able to get through before that football. And when you keep that front hand nice and tight to your frame, that's how you create that snap and that motion to the throw, right? And again, we point out the consistencies of both guys. Front foot's going down, hips are rotating through as that front shoulder is loaded and you're in that backstroke. That hip drive, everybody loves to talk about getting to that 90-degree angle. That hip drive is what brings you up to that 90-degree angle, okay? So this is a great example of just two of the top guys in this year's draft's throwing mechanics. Just watch them again, both back to back. Again, you see Lawrence, front foot's down as that shoulder's closed, leans a little bit out of that throw, and we just kind of talk about how that weight transfer helps with that. And you see Fields do the exact same thing, but he rotates through just a little bit more without a lean. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And again, if you want to send me your throwing mechanics for a full breakdown, become a member on my website and get access to all of our premium reading coverages content. Check out that very first link in the description. Hope to get you guys on that soon. I'll see you guys next time.